Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever it
Happy
is.
time zone.
Where
Happy
you
time
are.
zone.
Happy time zone. Indeed, it is a happy time zone because it's the 45 show time zone.
It is. It is.
So, yeah. How are you this morning or afternoon? I guess it's still morning for you.
It's still morning for me.
Um,
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm doing well. I realized I am sleeping better and better. My little son has been sleeping 11 to 12 hours a night, and so I actually feel like I'm a respectable adult now, not this zombie of an adult that I've been. So he doesn't like to take naps very well, and I think you have probably a kid or two or three that don't like to take naps. Nice. Hey, we know that guy.
we know that guy. I haven't cut it since you left. I'm on a hair strike until you come back.
Well, I thought you were banned from here. No, he's allowed. He's allowed. He's allowed.
I'm actually not sure if it may not have been cut since Christos left. Like I may not have had it cut since probably May. It's probably been a while.
Yeah, and now he's in Michigan. He lives probably far from a barber, right?
No, there's one right down the road. Here's the thing about barbershops. That's what I'm getting. The names of barbershops always have these ridiculous. It's like these like hyper masculine names, you know. And it's like, oh, I go, well, what are you doing later? Oh, I need to go get my haircut. Oh, we're gonna go, like, you know, bald bruise, and you're like, I don't like it. Doesn't you have to like? Why is everything spelled with a Z? You know, like, I don't know. Anyway,
That's weird.
So I need to get my haircut.
Okay. Are you getting it today or this week? Or are you're gonna wait? Are you gonna?
No, I'm gonna go this afternoon. Hopefully, I mean, they did my kid's head the other day, and it looks much better. So, yeah, I'm gonna try to go this afternoon. I don't know, it depends on what circus is on my calendar this afternoon. But hopefully, if it's pretty empty, I'm gonna go this afternoon.
Yeah, I stopped paying diligent attention to my calendar during the pandemic, and I guess we're sort of out of it. So I don't know. It doesn't. I mean, I'm still working from home. I'm not traveling, so it doesn't really feel that different. But there are days I'm like, oh crap, that's tomorrow. I should have probably maybe checked out my calendar earlier than the morning of. So
yeah,
it happens.
So, you should come be a guest, and you should talk about Cognito. What is that? Is that an AWS service?
I think so.
Is that one of them? I don't know. Is it a new one?
He's been doing a lot with it. I'm always excited that Christos is excited because he's always excited. Everything he posts is excitement, and I have not yet tracked down what it is. So he should definitely come on the show and teach us what it is.
Yeah, I mean, especially ever since he left, the energy level has been through the floor. I mean, our whole team is just busy all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so we definitely drink caffeine. Although I don't think Christos does drink caffeine. Doesn't drink as much as.
Christos, you're an East Coaster now, aren't you?
He is.
Right? You're in our time zone again.
Well, I'm not in the time zone. I'm 1 hour behind you, but I'm not. I'm closer than the West Coast contingent on our team.
That's true. Oh no, your new house is killing your toxic positivity. Why? What happened? That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, he's had. I don't know if he's able to type fast, but he said his fair share of WTFs when he moves in. We had that when we moved in here. We were like, did these people even care about their house?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I haven't had too many new house problems except.
Oh, knock on wood! Knock on wood! You said it out loud. Knock on wood.
I don't know them yet. Although this morning I was looking out in the front yard and there's this huge green piece of foam, right? And I was like, I don't know whose that is, so I went out to go get it, and I'm pretty sure it had like a pool noodle that was like, it had this enormous toothpick. I mean, obviously it's not a toothpick, that's the shape. It's pointy on both ends. And the pool noodle was like shoved into the foam thing. I have no idea. I have just no idea what it is. But I'm fairly certain that with the breezes it is today, if it picked up on somebody and whacked them, it would probably be uncomfortable. So, whatever. Such is life, I suppose. But yeah. So anyway, I don't know. So Christos, I'm glad you're here.
You had an update. You wanted to talk about your internet connection, right?
Oh yeah. Well,
I wanted to bring that up before JP wows us all with his JavaScript skills. I thought he wanted to, because there was something you almost shared it with me, and then you were like, "Wait a minute, we should share it on the stream," because people were laughing at the fact that he's got his internet on a paint. No, is it a painter's pole? No, what is it?
No, I have upgraded since then. I've upgraded since last week. Okay, so a long time ago, Christos and I were doing a show. And this is unrelated to my internet, but so years ago, Christos and I were doing a show, and our guest, we had a guest on who's a friend. I can't remember who it was now, but we had this person in the chat who was trolling us the whole time. Now,
you sure it wasn't Christos?
No, I'm sure he was on camera. I mean, if he was, he's like a chat ventriloquist, because there's no way he wouldn't know this. So we had somebody say, "Oh, he looks like this guy looks like Seth Rogen." And so which I was like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, I don't like the way Seth Rogen laughs, but whatever. Like, I get it. Kind of big guy with glasses and curly hair. Fine, get it.
And a beard. And usually has a beard.
And a beard. So yesterday, the appliance repair guy said the same thing. And I was like, cool, whatever, because our washing machine's totally jacked up and broken. I have to put new shocks in it, apparently, because the tub's like bebopping all over the place when it runs. But anyway, so we're doing the stream, and somebody says, no, not Seth Rogen, Samwell Tarly from Game of Thrones. Now, I get it. Like, I'm not the most fit person on the planet, admittedly. However, I'm no Samwell Tarly. I was super offended by that one. I was like, damn, like, this is what happens when you put yourself on the internet. Anyway, so for the rest of the show, I just had a picture of Samwell Tarly for my video instead of somebody else. But the thing that we found out later, it was a 16-year-old girl who happened to be the daughter of our guest. I couldn't believe it. And so I was like, because I guess he found out later, like after the show. So I don't know if you remember that, Christos, but yeah, that was quite an event. I remember that one. So
that is funny.
Yeah. So the internet saga does continue because we've had some storms here. So the last couple of mornings I've woken up to some pretty like big storms, lightning, thunder, the whole deal. So last weekend we decided to upgrade from the super flexible painter's pole to 1-inch diameter rigid conduit. So I went and got 4 lengths of this conduit. Surprisingly expensive, like $60 a pipe, 10 poles, or a 10-foot pipe is $60. So I went and got 4 of these things. Started linking them all together. Had my wife out there, and we're both trying to like get this thing up in the air. It just wasn't going to happen. So we went down to 3. So the 3 poles, the 3 poles are up, and we're about 30 feet in the air. It's surprisingly, I'd say pretty good. And so anyway, I'll show you. I've got a video here of the complete and abject terror that I felt yesterday as it was hailing and storming here at the house. So here, let me get this up here. And you can take a look. So, this is like 11 o'clock in the morning. I don't know how well you can see it, but right here in the middle is this pole. And there's the modem up here. Right? And it's windy and it's storming and there's lightning. It's just a total mess. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm standing there at the window just watching it like, oh my God, at any point this thing's going to go down or it's going to get struck by lightning. And my entire house is going to, catch on fire. So, but luckily, none of the above happened. So it's still here. It's still running.
And it's still in a Ziploc bag, like a name brand Ziploc bag, not the Costco flavor or Dollar Mart.
Gotta use not name brand. So anyway, no, there are no guy wires. Bolt, sad to say. I thought about putting guide wires on. Here's the thing. I was going to put guide wires on it, but it's not permanent. I mean, the modem itself is literally in the air. Like, the modem is what's on the end of it. So this is when it was hailing a few minutes after the other video. And the paranoia was like, I mean, my anxiety. This is a whole new anxiety that I'm not equipped to deal with. So yeah, so the no-go wires. However, I did talk to some folks about getting a tower, like a tower, like an adult thing that's like lightning grounded and all that sort of stuff. So that is coming. It's just not. So I talked to those guys yesterday. So hopefully we get something. We get something soon because once it gets cold out here.
I'm shocked that you wouldn't try to build it yourself. Like I feel like that's like a hobby that I could see you out there trying to build your own tower.
I've considered it. I'm not gonna lie. I did consider it, but I think my only issue is because this is all going to be connected to like the electronics of the house and stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not an electrician.
Oh, I see.
Going back to school to be
fair,
one. I'm kind of like,
fair.
However, now the one thing I will say, let me put this back up. So over the weekend, I thought, well, we're doing all this stuff, so we might as well I need to figure out how to, track the work that we're doing and see how it's going. Because what good is work if you can't figure out what it's doing?
It's true.
If you can't measure it, you can't see a difference. So I've played around with Grafana. Grafana is actually pretty cool. So I thought it was pretty neat. Some of the querying and stuff was really, really sort of wonky, but whatever. I thought it was pretty cool. And so this is running I've got like Grafana Cloud running, but also Grafana running downstairs on a Raspberry Pi of all things.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to use one of my Raspberry Pis for. Was that an easy installation? I've read up on it. I just haven't had the time to go because what I'm always worried about is I start something and then I have to like troubleshoot something. And now that I've got a little guy, it's like literally balancing spinning plates. So
yeah, so it's but the thing is, so I have antennas on order. They're going to be here this weekend. So next week we'll have something new to look at. But the key metrics, the received power is super great. The received quality is really good.
Okay.
See, it's windy today, so something just happened and it's moved. But like the received quality is good. The signal to noise is really good, and this is how we get 650, 700, and stuff. So I mean, I'll take it. I just got to get it mounted permanently, like an adult. So. What I've erected scares me as well, Bolt and my family. I tell the kids, I'm like, don't touch it, just stay away from it.
Do they often do they stop and stare at it? Do they point? Look at what Dad did.
No, they don't anymore, but the neighbors do. So, the neighbor came over yesterday and he's like, so what you got going on over here? I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. So
yeah, it's what you do when you live. What are you, like 30 miles from Canada now or something? 20?
Oh no, we're 8 miles from Canada.
Oh God, yeah. So you're very far away from Detroit proper. I mean, you're not very far, but you're far enough away that it's hard to get good internet.
Well,
really.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we live in the county is pretty dead, and that's why. Because my sister-in-law lives in like sort of St. Clair proper, like a little town.
Sure.
And she's got like Comcast and fiber, and all, she's got all sorts of stuff available because she lives in town. There is fiber 3/4 of a mile up the road from me, and so I'm talking to the folks because apparently there's some grant money the government's given for laying new fiber installation.
Wow.
Or for new broadband, like rural broadband. So, I've been sort of like
just send them a picture of what you've done. Send them a picture of what you've done and say, I need fiber. Please. I need fiber, and then spell it PLZ to go back to the Z comment. PLZ.
I mean, that's true. Well, one guy, I was talking to him, and they're building fiber all through the county, and I was like, what? Like, I'll buy business internet or whatever. Because I got 10 gigs symmetrical. I'm like, all right. Like, I'm just gonna do some colo hosting out in the back. Like, you want like your really, really off-site? Like, here we go. Maybe that's what we'll call it. Really, really off-site hosting.
RROS for short. RROS for short.
Yeah. If you want to keep your backups extremely off-site. So, see, Bolt's correct about this too. Prototypes end up in production far more than they should. In fact, the guy
my favorite
was. No, go ahead.
Well, I'll say my favorite were like the VMs that were like test 01, and you go to a customer site and you're like, what are all these test VMs? Oh, it's running the production level app for X, Y, and Z business unit. And I'm like, okay, great. Well, we need to probably not have it be called test. Just saying.
One of the guys that I used to work with was saying the other day, he's like, the best way to make sure your prototype doesn't go into production is to write it in a different language than your production stack.
Yeah.
So thank you, Corey. I appreciate this sentiment that either through stupidity or sheer will.
Didn't I say it was like hillbilly ingenuity? It's some hillbilly ingenuity work going on there.
It's the redneck redneck engineering.
My wife calls it my wife calls it ghetto ingenuity because we live in the city, so we don't, you know what I mean? We have to call it ghetto ingenuity.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
My wife was like, well, you should just go to you should go to school and like get be like a professional engineer, like get a PE. I'm like, nobody wants me to do that in their backyard. I don't think you understand. Like,
I kind of now want you to. I kind of want to have you come to my house and put, because I do have T-Mobile internet as my backup. I am considering canceling it though because we finally figured out what the issue was with Xfinity, but.
I can't sell that. See, that I will do that for free because free means no liability. It's like, look, I'll do it for free. But once you take money for something, then you feel like you have to stand behind it.
It's true. It's true.
So,
it's true.
I already do one thing poorly that I get paid for, which is this job. So I can't be two things.
That's a nice segue. Maybe we should move into your JavaScript app.
I guess we should. So,
well, we should probably also set the stage in case people joining don't quite know what we're doing.
So, and I have to leave early today, sadly, which means we probably won't finish it, but that's okay. It is a super, super, super simple app. Yes, bolts. I actually did chain the modem to the bottom of the drone to see where I get line of sight in the backyard. Okay. So ADFS, if you're not familiar, ADFS is the thing that we've been telling everybody for years that they should use for connecting on-prem AD, etc., to Azure AD for login, like for authentication. And if you had an on-prem directory, that was sort of the way that you did it for a long time. Now, in recent years, of course, Azure AD's caught up, and we've added a lot of new features into Azure AD, to where ADFS isn't really a requirement like it used to be for certain scenarios. One of the most recently really big ones was the addition of like certificate-based auth. So if you wanted to use like smart cards or whatever, you pretty much had to use ADFS until just recently. And so one of the things we're looking at is we want to help customers who still have ADFS like consider like, hey, do you still need to use this, or can you switch to authentication in Azure AD? Because you've got so much new stuff and so many new features and things that are going out in Azure AD that and not to mention, like, you can start to shift some of your liability back to us and say, well, like,
it's Microsoft's fault.
Right? Yeah. Like, do you really want to run like an authentication like server on-prem? Like, nah, just let us handle it, right? Reduce your infrastructure, reducing attack surfaces too, right? Because ADFS servers have to sit on the internet or be accessible at least to all your clients. WAP servers, the whole thing. So, like running your own ADFS is just one of those things that, unless you like really have to do it,
you probably don't want to.
Probably time to consider not doing it. And if you still have to use it, I know someone mentioned earlier in the chat that they do still have to use it. Trooper mentioned still got 20 or 30 of these that still need ADFS that has to keep running for another 12 months. So like if that's you, if you've got stuff that's running, especially if it's still running because why do I keep hiding it? It keeps coming back. If you've got ADFS,
it's your T-Mobile internet.
It probably is. It's got to resend all those bits, So if you're still running ADFS, we would also really love to know why. So that could be, you can drop us a note at our 425show@microsoft.com. You can join us in the Discord. Look at us. We're both thinking the same thing.
I
know! What we're going to find out is the secret is that Kristen still has his old login. He's in there toggling along off. Like, hey, watch this. So if you're still using it, like we'd love to also to understand why, because we have lots of folks who are focused on of sort of like bringing parity and solving some of those issues. So if you've got something that's really like a feature that's missing or a scenario that doesn't
definitely
work,
tell us.
be sure to let us know, because we have lots of folks who are really interested to learn more about those scenarios. So,
so now that we've gone through setting up AAD Connect Health for ADFS, which that was hilarious because we were sort of going in blind, but it works, and we showed you how to do it. Now JP is going to wow us with his JavaScript skills to query your tenant and just make sure that are you running ADFS? Some of these smaller companies don't know that they are.
That's right.
That was the premise. That was the premise behind why JP wanted to create this app. And if you joined us last time, we went down the rabbit hole of Power Apps, and JP is
Power Apps was a total mistake. and this is really common too, Bolt. It's working. So like, I'm not going to touch it because once I touch it, it can break. Right.
And then my favorite, there were a couple of customers I used to support way back when who said it was working, and then we found out it wasn't. So I was like, so where is your auth going?
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Thank God they had pass-through, not pass-through, password hash sync. Otherwise, nobody would be able to get into things. Oh, so, that was a terrible one to admit too. I was like, I don't think it's working, and we've proved it didn't work. So, I was.
Yes. I mean, and I totally get that too, and I think that's why, being able to, like, having these new features in Azure AD sort of show, like, hey, like, you can do this sort of thing. But I also think, like, it's got to be really, really simple and straightforward to do. Yeah. Right. Like, so what's the value otherwise? Like, why you want me to go and touch something that's been working? House of Cards or not? You want me to touch something that's working fine, which sounds like work. Yeah. And I have other things I have to do, so why do you want me to go and do this? Which is a completely valid way to look at it, I'd say, too.
Yeah.
But one thing is, a lot of folks, like my old pediatrician, for example, she had it, and it's like, if you called her and said, hey, do you know your ADFS server's still running? Like, she'd think it was a prank call, like, oh, why don't you go catch it, like your refrigerator, And so, or she'd think it was some sort of new, like, pediatric disease or something.
Right.
So, what we thought was, like, well, let's have like a really quick and dirty, super simple tool that just goes and says, hey, like, are you, like, if you type in your email address or your username for Office or Azure AD, that just tells you if you're using it or not, right? And it gives you some resources to be able to change. So if you want to change or start migrating, we're going to have some things coming up that are going to make those migrations a lot easier for you. And so it's just another way to do it. And I was talking to a friend of mine, a guy called Guru, and he was on our team. And
he's on our team. Should we wave?
JavaScript.
Hi, Guru.
I don't know if he's watching.
He's probably not watching.
He's a left coaster, but he was a dev for CloudMox, the EPM stuff that we just bought, right? And so I asked him, I said, hey, if you were going to go build a new app tomorrow, like super simple, just needs to call an API kind of thing, what would you use? Like, obviously stuff like React is too heavy. I'm not like into this world enough that I could say unequivocally, like, oh, this is definitely the thing they got to do, whatever.
Yeah. And I'm not.
Like, well, he's like, well, you can use HTMX, which is what we sort of talked about, and we started going down that road. He's like, but if it's really simple, like, you should just do it with vanilla JavaScript. And I was like, okay, like, I'll take that challenge. So I'm today going to write some JavaScript poorly for all of you.
And you said you haven't done it for 20 years, so this could be fun.
Well,
right? Isn't that what you said?
I've written JavaScript, vanilla JavaScript. I mean, I haven't written it in 15, 20 years. Like in terms of like anything of any significance, I've always used, a jQuery or even something like a React or Angular, whatever. So the thought of like doing it completely plain is different. Now, the other thing though is it's very different than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? So like fetch instead of XML HTTP request and like ES6 modules and all sorts of stuff, like that's all new to me.
Yeah.
So this is very much a collaborative effort. 2 quick comments. The military moving away from smart cards, like that was part of like what prompted. That was some of those, that's part of what prompted some of that smart
certificate
cards
based
into
off. Yeah.
Azure AD. Yep, smart card based off for the CACs and all that stuff. And then Bolt had a great idea, which is let's get Copilot to write it. And to be honest, we're probably not going to be too far away from that. So we're going to try that first. So vanilla JavaScript, where we really don't need a whole lot. So I'm going to let's go to my code folder here, and we're going to create a new thing called I think I already created the folder. I did. So we have a folder called adfs.me, because we're going to call it ADFS. Like, that's literally going to be the website. It's adfs.me, right? Like, ADFS me, bro. We have a source folder.
ADFS me, bro. Nice.
We have a README. So I guess.
Are you gonna put this code up on the 425 show GitHub? You should.
Sure. Yeah, I'll go up there. So here's the thing. So we're in VS Code, because what else would you use? I don't know what you use anymore. So let's get us an index file. And the one thing that Guru did say is he's like, well, you should use Bootstrap for your CSS, of course. So we're going to use Bootstrap for CSS. So I'm going to go over and we'll go grab like the Bootstrap CDN links and all that sort of stuff. So we don't have to do I don't want to do any other sort of silliness or surface. Like, I don't want to do package managers and stuff for this, because it's hopefully so basically simple.
Yeah.
So HTML comments. Let's see, create a basic Bootstrap form to submit your email address. Let's see what Copilot does with that. Anything, Copilot? Oh, it's cooking. Oh,
wow.
Okay.
That's okay. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Bolt.
Okay. So this.
Look at that.
I love it. Now it's Bootstrap 4. It's a little old. That's okay. But we get all of our basic stuff, so that's cool. I'll take it. Let's update our style sheet to Bootstrap 5. Now I don't want jQuery or Popper
So I'm not
Bootstrap
familiar. What is jQuery? What is Popper? I'm not familiar.
I don't know what Popper. I don't know what Popper is. jQuery is like one of these things that's been around for 900 years.
So it's as old as Kerberos?
No, it's like
it's older than Kerberos.
No. It was like in the second coming of Kerberos. Like, not that old. But,
okay.
It was around the time SAML was anyway. We're never gonna get this done. But so no, the jQuery was like, it's like a little thing. I mean, but it's one of I feel like it's one of the very first things that came out.
Okay.
And one of these like JavaScript sort of what's the word I'm thinking of? Like it's an abstractor, because in the IE6 days, like 10, 15 years ago, you think about trying to do JavaScript cross-browser was like
a pain. Okay,
everybody
so that's
implemented all sorts of weird stuff, and IE6 was still around, and it did all of its own weird, wonky stuff. So it made it really easy to do. You'd write the JavaScript code, and you'd use jQuery, and then jQuery would sort of handle all of the shimming to whatever. So it's pretty cool. But I don't really want to use it, because I guess it's kind of gotten a little bit heavy over the years, as we all have. No offense.
I am not as thin as I was in my teens and 20s, so I can. Yeah.
And so the only thing I don't really want to use it for this, because like Guru said, like, do vanilla JavaScript. Let's see if we can actually do it with vanilla. Although we are going to use the Bootstrap JavaScript. Although I'm not entirely sure we're going to need the Bootstrap JavaScript, to be honest, because most of the components we're using are not going to be. I don't think they're going to be anything that requires JavaScript. So let's just comment it out. I'll comment it out for now, and if we decide that we need it for something, we'll do it. So let's give this a title that means something. ADFS me, bro. And so we got our container. Let's see, we've got our form, and we're just going to hijack our form, because our form is going to we'll call it friend instead of bro. We want to be inclusive here. Our form is not actually going to post back anywhere, because that would be bad news, but we should give it an ID so we can go and reference it. I'll call this the very uniquely named form 1. I guess email is probably correct, so we can keep that. don't really want a remember me box, so we can get rid of that. Then we have a submit, which is great. So this might be all the HTML we need. So let's see. So I've got an extension in here called live server, which is just a VS Code extension, nothing too wild. And if we look at the page, the HTML page we have, look at that. We've got our title, we've got our email address, and we've got our submit button. So we got our basic form ready to go, right?
Wow, look at that.
Now, if we submit it, because we took that out, it doesn't actually go anywhere, which is fine. So let's get this out of the way. Now, the thing, when we do our call, our JavaScript call, we're going to need to, we're going to have to do a fetch, and we're going to want to do it based on the name that a person gives us, right? And then I guess update something to say, hey, whatever, right? So, let's see. Do script tags go in between? I guess they do, don't they? Type. Let's see. This is a text. And now I think this is what everybody who's like, this is who everybody who does this for a living is going to start to laugh at me. Because it's been a while. So, okay. Let's see what Copilot is suggesting now. Submit email. So, function submit email. Wow, that's this is going to Syncro. That's actually quite amazing. With this function that it started to give us. Now we don't need really any of this. We are going to keep that URL, but so we've got our email value, which is the value of our submission.
Okay.
There, which is cool.
Okay.
We'll close this function out. So we actually do have a URL of our API management thing we did last week.
Yeah, which that was so much easier than it has historically been. So I was excited to realize that.
Yes, it was. So here is our URL. Okay. This is what we're going after here. This is at least our URL template, and it's API version 2.0. So we're going to need to replace our value here. Now, this is definitely like a super bad way to do things because we're not sanitizing anything. Now, the same token, however, on the same token, it's all client side, and we're calling an API that is client side.
Okay.
Sorry, API is not client side, but it's not actually an API that we own. Meaning somebody has gone through the effort of sanitizing input that comes into that API, such that we probably don't have to be super worried about it to start, but we should be worried about it. We should think about it. But for the moment, I'm not going to, just because we have 23 minutes left, and I'm going to see if we can actually at least see this thing work at the basics, in the most basic case before we go. So we're going to do a little text replacement here with our email. Like, this is what we definitely shouldn't do, is just directly take user input and put it in here, but whatever. Okay, so now I think we do async. We marked an async up here, right? And then we're going to do an await on a fetch, and the fetch is going to be our URL. I like how it has the API management, recognizes that it's API management, and it's offering to put in our API management.
Wow.
Key. Not too bad. Pretty neat. Even though we don't need a key. I mean, that's all we're doing, really, right? Now, because we're doing an await, I don't think we need to do a .then, because the then is the promise. Like, we're awaiting this promise, or we can do a .then, which is the other way of doing the promises. Like, I don't know which. I think this is more familiar for me from coming from C# and back-end type stuff. To use async and await, to say this is an async function, I'm going to await this. But that does mean, like, I guess I got to start giving these things things. So, we'll parse our response into JSON. And then I guess we need to figure out if they're managed or if they're not. So in that data, there will be a, let's go get one of these pulled up quickly here.
Okay.
So let's do a curl, and we'll do an S. Call this. This is definitely not what I wanted. Curl S. And the user realm, proxy, Azure API.net, user realm, and I'll use one of mine. API, come on, I can type version equals 2.0. Will that work? Euler, yes, it does work. So let's let JQ parse it so we can see it. Cool. Okay. So in here, our namespace type is federated, right? So our namespace type being federated is because it is using some type of external ADFS. Now, sorry, it doesn't have to be ADFS. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be ADFS. But what it isn't is Microsoft Azure AD managed authentication. That's what it's not. So this could be something like a ping, Okta, ADFS, an app that you wrote on your own. It could be literally anything, but it is not Microsoft managed auth.
Okay.
So that's the only thing to consider. So
Okay.
what we're going to want to do is we need to get the namespace type out. Now, what'll be interesting is what the namespace types are in terms of this property name. Like this is I would say probably a fairly strange capitalization here. But whatever, because namespace I've never seen as sort of like two different things. So let's do another domain that I know is not using ADFS so that we can see what a non-ADFS example looks like, right? So I use this other one, Spoon. And this one, the namespace type is still the same, and the namespace type is managed. And then if we were to do something, I guess, like let's try something that's like completely nobody's probably ever used, which is today we're getting cheeseburgers 1234.dev, and that returns an unknown one.
Okay.
So I wonder, should we do a switch on our namespace type? Not really, because the only namespace type we care about is federated, right?
Yeah.
So if it's not equal to federated, oops, I guess let's lower that, right? So I don't even know if that's a valid function. If it's not equal to federated, let's just get out of here, right? Because we're done. So if it's not federated, like this is, time to go. So if it is, at this point, we know it'll be federated. So then the next thing we need to do is look at the URL. We have to figure out, are you using ADFS? Now, I guess we can cheat a little bit here because there are certain things we know about ADFS. Specifically, the path names that ADFS uses for where the paths are that do authentications, right? So we know we're going to have ADFS whack ls in here. Now, it's also entirely possible that some smartass on the stream was like, oh, I'm going to go build an STS today, and that STS is going to use ADFS whack ls as part of its federation thing, in which case we would misclassify somebody as using ADFS based on that.
Okay.
But, and then generally speaking, if you've got ADFS whack ls in your auth URL, it's very high confidence that you're using ADFS. And if you're not, it's not like we're doing anything for you anyway, except for giving you docs and telling you why you should do it. So if it's federated, it's time to go. Also, if the data auth URL, let's see, we'll do a two lower, and we'll do, I don't know, is there a string contains? I don't think there's a string contains in JavaScript, is there? Let's see, string contains? Nah. Is there one? Let's see, let's search. JavaScript, string contain. Oh, somebody's already beaten me to it. The string include, that's a new one. Oh, I guess it is includes. What a weird, literally every other language on the planet calls it
contains.
Yeah. So let's see, let me see what Bolt says here. Federated or unknown for could not find the domain. Should be unknown. It should not be federated, because if you're federating with an unknown domain, that sounds like a problem. So how would you end up in a position where you were federated, but it was an unknown URL? So the other thing is, the other thing is the WT realm. That's the realm for which you want to sign into. So if we look at what this metadata is, it's coming out of here. this auth URL, if we look at this, like this is our ADFS server. Now, the username that I gave it was just the realm name. So it's going to try to pre-populate that. So that's all this one is. We're going to do a sign-in. The WT realm is the relying party in ADFS that you want to sign into. So the Azure AD federation, the thing that gets set up in ADFS when you use like Azure AD Connect to set it up, for example, is URN Federation Microsoft Online. I don't know why this is sort of cut off like this, but
Okay.
I'll put it up here so you can see it. So the auth URL is going to have this in it, and this is URL escaped.
Okay.
So it's actually URN colon Federation, URN colon Microsoft Online, and then any context, just user context that you send back. So this is a sort of typical Azure AD federation, right?
Okay.
If this is not in your URN URL, then that wouldn't really matter, because there are lots of SDSs that maybe, I mean, you could in theory use whatever you wanted to, right? Like, because it's up to it's whatever, it's however you have described that into your token service. Because when you try to sign in, ultimately what's going to end up happening is you're going to get redirected here because you're a federated domain. So if whatever your software is that's on the other end of this URL, if it uses WT Realm, if it uses Realm, if it uses our IDP, client ID, like whatever it is, that's sort of up to you in the software. So let me go back to what Bolt's saying. So Bolt's saying we're only checking for federated. You want to let them know the domain was not found. So I guess that's true. I guess we can tell them like, hey, you must have fat fingered that, right? That make you feel better? Would that feel better if we did that? What did we say? Unknown?
Or not found? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Bad news, pal.
Bad news, pal. Or do you want to do bad news, friend, to keep in the same theme?
That's true. Not your pal, friend. Not your friend. Oh, okay, sorry. Bad news, friend. Maybe you're not our friend. We'll come back to this. Let's see. To do.
Oh gosh! Wait, we only have like 5. What? You said you have to go 5 till?
Well, I have to call in to a doctor's appointment at 12, which is 13 minutes from now.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought you had to like leave.
No, luckily my doctors are still very far away from us. I've got new ones yet. So yeah. We'll definitely get a descriptive error message without a doubt. And that descriptive error message will make sure to take you to a docs page that is so dense that your actual error requires you to control F when you get there. But that's a different story. Sorry, that's a me problem.
And then Bolt says, "Don't call me friend, buddy."
Not your friend, pal. Not your pal. Okay, so let me go back to this includes thing, because that did look kind of interesting, because that's a new one for me. So we're saying, let's see. Oh, where to start from and the search value. So like we could get kind of fancy and we could parse the auth URL and then say if the path includes ADFS WAC LS, because then we're scoping it to just that one thing. But well, it's a future enhancement. Parse to path. Let's see. Parse auth URL to path and check path for ADFS WAC LS. You gonna do anything for me, Copilot? No. Okay. So if it includes ADFS WAC LS, if it includes that, we're going to assume. I guess we could do if it doesn't assume, because then we can still exit quickly.
Okay.
So if it does not include that, then again we're going to do another return here, so that we can. This way we can just write our code for the good case. We can exit out of all the bad cases, and then we do our good. So if it doesn't include ADFS.ls, then it's not an ADFS server. So at this point, we believe you are using ADFS. Here are some resources. So the resources, we'll just do, this is like super jank, right? Let's do, I call this resources, resource list, and we will hide this to start.
Okay.
And this is going to be essentially the list of resources, right? To think, hello, what was that? Okay, cool. So we got our fake resources here from here. So we're going to do that. And if you're using ADFS, we're going to say, we're basically just going to unhide our resource list. So that's document get element by ID. Is that correct? I think so. We're going to call it resource list. And we're going to do, now this is what I don't know. Class list. How do we, so should we remove? I guess we should remove a class called hidden or something, right?
Okay.
We'll call that class hidden. I have no idea if it's going to work. And we need to create that class. So let's do a style. God, I completely forgot. This is all like, I'm kind of breaking my brain. I'm not entirely sure if I remember how to do any of this. Okay, so we'll do a class called hidden. And we'll just do a display none on that guy. Okay. And this div is going to be called resources, and it's going to be called hidden. What we're saying is, if you have ADFS, we're going to remove the hidden class that's hiding this div from the thing. Now, the last thing we have to do is wire that up to our form so that when we do something, like hit the submit button or hit enter or whatever, that instead of trying to submit it somewhere where it goes nowhere, because it's going into Ether right now, that it calls our submit email function, right? So let's see here. Where's the page? Because don't we have this running in our little, yeah, we got this running in our little server right here, don't we? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's our ADFS me friend. Okay, so this is here. Now, how do we wire up this form? Is it like an on submit maybe? Is that still a thing? Can you do that? No, you can't do that. Is it? It used to be like you had to do like JavaScript : oh my goodness. Oh my God, it might work. What? I don't know if I buy this. You're right. You were right. So you're right, Bolt. Bolt says he says write a comment and let Copilot do it. So submit the form to the submit email method. Now, I'm pretty sure it goes here. So let's do on submit and let's do JavaScript submit email. I don't know if I need my things at the end of that, but let's see. So we're going to save that. We're going to come over here to our thing, and we've done nothing to indicate that any of our code is working. We have no messages, no log messages, nothing changes. So what better way to do this than this way, right?
Oh, it's looking for an email.
Well, oh, validation's happening. Look at that. So let's do adfs.lol. It did something. It submitted it, but I think we have to cancel the submission. We have to say, hey, when you submit the form, we have to cancel the submit. Like you can't, you have to prevent it from doing that.
Okay.
So that's what I need to figure out, right? So let's do function form submit. Okay, and that way. Now, normally you would have some arguments here.
Okay.
Last time I seem to remember doing this, we had, let's see, form submit JavaScript. There's an event Actually, what we want is a form submit handler in JavaScript. Means I'm probably going to get some like ultra complex thing here that's like, oh, you got to hook in early in the document and say, oh, every form that comes through here, we got to blah, blah. Like, I don't want to do all that. Okay. Let's see, this is using key events. Okay, so is that in key listener? Yes, it's this event.prevent default. Oh, that's if you're that's for the key listener. That's for the key item though. Because we don't want to actually submit the form. We want to cancel the form submission and handle it ourselves.
Okay.
That's the key, right? We don't want the form to submit because the form submitting sends you back to the server, which we don't want it to do.
Okay.
So here we go. Show me a simple JavaScript form submit handler. Oh no, this is a long answer. This is a really long, oh my goodness. Wind's blowing. That big giant blue and green thing that was in my front yard is flopping around. I don't even know whose it is, but it's dangerous because it's got wooden spikes coming out of it.
Oof.
Let's see. What? You can't do. Can you do that? No, you can't do that. Let's see. What? No, I've never seen that before. Action, blah, blah, on submit. And there's this handler. And then, yeah, there's the form. I mean, I guess it is just the on submit action, right? On submit action. I guess let's we give it a shot. I mean, that's the best part about code is you can run it for free.
Yeah.
So let's see, where was our code? Here it is. So we'll reload this. We'll do OK at adfs.lol. Nope, so it's still being submitted. Yeah, okay, so we got to figure out, I think maybe we don't need this in there.
Okay.
That's like an old way to do it. But I think we still need the form, right? We still need this form, like the form itself. That's what I'm getting hung up on. Is I feel like it just wouldn't be that easy. Like we've got to cancel our form submission. Although Bolt's saying maybe our JavaScript's just cached. Maybe he's right. I'm holding Shift to reload this page. Reload page. That's still submitting it though. So cancel form submission JavaScript. Let's do this in a little bit. So let's see. We're gonna. What is this? No, I don't want any of these cookies. Go away. Prevent default, right? So it's the event and then the form. Okay. So then in our form, we need, so there's a validate. Okay. Name, value, submit. What? I don't understand submit once, but okay. So yeah, so we need this. So there's E and then there's form. There's the event essentially. So let's do an event. Let's do event and form, and we're going to event prevent default, and that will prevent the form from doing what it's made to do, which is submit itself back to the server. So let's see if this works. And if it doesn't, then I gotta go anyway, and I will publish this onto the 425 show GitHub, and we can fix it from there. So okay at adfs.lol. Still submitting. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to. That's the last thing we need, really.
Yeah.
Is we have to figure out how are we going to, how do we cancel our thing, right? We just need to cancel our form submission, but you'll notice it's reloading the page each time. At least it would appear that way. We're not calling our sockets at all. We're not calling our Ajax at all. In theory, now Bolt did say we should try return, what was it? Form submit this. Although it wouldn't be a this, would it? I feel like we're doing this the wrong way. Maybe this is just me, but I feel like this is the wrong way. But it's okay, we'll try it. Reload. Yeah, still not there. There's a certain syntax we have to do. That will, as long as we can cancel the form, I think that's really the most important thing. So anyway, let's find somebody to raid really quickly, and we'll get going.
Yes.
Unless you want to run, but
No.
let's find somebody to raid. Who's streaming right now?
Let's see.
Mr.
C
Fritz.
Yeah, Mr. Fritz is going.
All right, let's go over to Fritz. Hey, friends, we will be back next week, probably, maybe. Hopefully.
No, we are. Remember, I sent the calendar invite. We've got a special guest.
An extremely special guest will be here next week. You will not want to miss it. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. We're gonna have this done. We're gonna get this one knocked out. So
yeah, and I don't know. Do you want to spend I mean, I guess we can worry about that later. We'll figure out how I want to showcase the app being finalized. But yeah, we do it. We have a special guest next week. It's like we're getting the band back together, except it's not Christos. It's a band from before our time on the 425 show, so it should be a good time.
Yeah. No, my girl just goes to another school. What are you talking about, right? Like, that's all that stuff. All right, everybody, we're gonna go raid Mr. Fritz, and we will see you all in a few days. Hey, we may even come back later this afternoon to finish this up. Until then.
Oh my God, that could be crazy. Crazier things have happened.
See you soon.
Bye.
See you, everybody. Bye.